did. It's all taken care
Call
of.
the meeting to order of our Waverly Public Library Board of Trustees for the month of March. Thanks to everyone who's watching. And I will go ahead and call to order. And then I hope everyone's got their materials in front of them. Does anybody, are there any additional packets?
There are.
For Mike here. And
We can certainly share, too.
while we're getting that, if everybody else has their agenda in front of them to review, I will entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Nope, you're fine.
Do I hear a second? All right. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right. On to the minutes, also in your packet. Brief moment, if anybody needs to glance through them from last meeting.
Madam President, I move that we accept these minutes as written.
All right, thank you very much.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right. I got things a little out of order as we called to order. I got the usuals out of the way. And now that we've got Elaine just joined us as well. Let's go ahead and introduce ourselves, and I will begin. And I know I've asked each of you, we've got 2 featured topics this week, kind of the summer reading program and also our historic preservation activities. And so as you introduce yourself, if you have any history or summer reading story that you can share that connects back to those, feel free to share that as you introduce yourself. And so I'm Deanna McHugh. I'm the president of the library board. I have lived in Waverly all my life and have been privileged to work on the board for many years. And I guess my little history story is I do remember summer reading at the Waverly Library many years ago. I won't say how many, but one of the things I absolutely have a vivid memory of in that kind of historical perspective is going into the library, and we used to have the sticks that you inserted into the shelf so you could pull out your book, and they were very specific sticks, and I remember sticking that in and pulling out Where the Wild Things Are, because that was one of my favorite books in that kind of summer reading program. I don't know if we have a historical preserved sticks that we used in the old days, but I certainly remember it and enjoyed the library my whole life. Let's go this way. Laura?
I'm Laura Freyking, and I was always so excited for my kids to be part of the summer reading program because they just had so much energy. And then a few years ago, I found out that there was an adult summer reading program, and I just signed up right away. And it's just been a great way for me to read things that I wouldn't normally read. I've enjoyed the most unusual topics, and it's just a great way to kind of think outside the box.
Absolutely.
I'm Eric Leong, serve as the board secretary, and I'm looking forward to the summer program preview, as my kids have really enjoyed in the past the opportunity to rub elbows with state celebrities like Dan Wardell and local celebrities like the percussionist from the Waterloo Cedar Falls Symphony. Additionally, last year my wife and I really enjoyed the adult reading program, the Monopoly program, which challenged us to read outside of our typical interests and get out of the box a little bit, out of our bubbles, which I feel empowers its participants to deepen their understanding and appreciation and respect for the diversity of opinions and ideas that we have in our community and the world at large.
I'm Sarah Meyer Ryerson, and library director here. And I think this will be a year that I'll become historic as well, because it was 1997 when my husband and I first moved to town, and I was hired at the Waverly Public Library, so I'm coming up on 20 years this summer. And Eric mentioned our famous percussionist that we had as an employee at the library, Michael Pollock. Michael has moved on to full-time employment now, and so we're happy for him for that opportunity. We were happy for the years that we got to have him. When we get around the circle here, I have a new assistant librarian to introduce to you, and she'll introduce herself tonight.
Hi, I'm Denny Stuffelbeam, and when I started my job here, I was really so glad to hear about summer reading program, because way back when I was 22 years old and just got out of college and was starting to teach school, and I taught 7th and 8th grade reading, and I was K through 12 librarian. Well, anyhow, when the first day I walk into 8th grade reading class, and there were only 2 students reading on the 8th grade level, and most of them were reading on the 2nd and 3rd grade level. Well, you know, 8th graders just can't make it in this world reading on the 2nd and 3rd grade level. And so I knew at that very moment that I had my job cut out for me. And I'm just so glad to hear that there's all kinds of avenues to help kids that are so far behind.
So I'm Elaine Main, and what I really like about our summer reading program on Waverly is that it's an emphasis on reading. It's not just how many numbers can you get and how many kids can have fun at the library, which is great, but we are emphasizing reading and knowledge and learning more. Every time I hear Dan Wardell, right? Is that how it's pronounced? He really emphasizes the reading part, and I like that. Focus on goals.
We want to jump back?
Oh, am I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. My name is Jillian Rutledge. I'm the Information Services Librarian at the library, and I will be demonstrating in a bit our digitized newspaper collection and talking about the Adult Summer Reading Program. So,
I'm Sue Van Hamert. I'm the children's librarian, and speaking of history, this summer will be my 40th summer reading program. On June 8th, I'll have been at the library 40 years. So,
So Sarah, 20 more to go.
hang in there. And a little later, I'll be telling you about the summer program, and then I'm going to tell a little bit about Emily's teen program.
I'm Bethany Nelson, so I am the new assistant librarian. I'm very excited to be here. So I grew up in Waverly, went to WSR, so I remember very fondly the summer reading program as a kid and pining after that bike, which I never won, but still had fun. So I'm very excited to be involved in the library.
Hi, my name is Linda Podasky, and I'd like to share something that just amazed me when I became a part of serving on the library board. They were just, plain old business as usual, and then all of a sudden I heard about our historic photographs collection. And I've heard more and more and more and how important it is to us, so important that when we built the new library, we made sure that there was the right kind of place to have that. And that, coupled with the genealogical research that people do at our library, I think make it an extra special place for people who like to delve into the past.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Diana Blake. I've been on the library board for quite a few years, and every time I hear about the summer reading program, I want to be a kid again, because I know I would be on the front row if that was possible. I always take all the materials that the staff passes out and share it with friends that I have at other libraries, and they are just totally amazed at the quality and the scope of the reading program here at the Waverly Public Library. So I think we can all be happy that we have staff with lots of skills and interests that can keep reading important for kids all summer long.
Good evening. My name is Jim Jansen, library board member here. Not as much time as many veterans on our board, but it really has been a delight to serve. I think I may be the black sheep of the panel because my childhood sounds like it was very different than yours. I was a very reluctant reader as a kid. And Denny, I may, if I would have grown up in the school district you're talking about, might have been one of your students who you describe as not up to grade, because that was me. I don't say that proudly or with any kind of delight in that. But what is delightful is to watch my 3 grandkids now coming from the big city of Houston, Texas. When they come up to Iowa in the summertime, we always ask them, what do you want to do when you're at Grandpa and Grandma's house? And the summer program, the Waverly Library in particular, ranks right up there with going for rides, going to the farm, going golfing, going fishing, and we have to make sure we get multiple stops at the library. And they talk about the Waverly Library even when we go back to Houston, and they say, well, now when we come and see you again this summer, can we once again go? So what they've met is a place of real interest for them. They always find neat things. It's books, it's puppets, it's other people and other children that they come and they meet. They meet staff who instantly engages them in whatever they're doing. and helps them find the books that they really want to get to and then take home and read. So that's my short story, with also a thank you to the staff at our library for making it, the kind of environment that young kids want to come to.
Well, I'm Mike Shear, and I'm last but not necessarily the best. I'm on the library board because I'm liaison from Waverly City Council. I usually sit in the next seat over here, so it's kind of a nice change not to be in that seat. I was sitting in my seat the night that Diana Blake, who's sitting 2 seats over, walked in with a big stack of books and handed them out. Each one of us got a copy of 13 Ways to Kill Your Community. And I just want, Deanna, I want you to know that I am about halfway through my book. It's very depressing, so I have to take breaks, but I'm learning how to paint things in the chapter I'm in right now. And I asked Sarah if it would be permissible for me to share something. Should I do it now or later? Okay, I subscribe to more journals than I should, and in one of the ones that I get, the current issue had a wonderful little poem, free verse, about the public library. This fellow is from Portland, Oregon, and he's writing about a branch library. If you've heard this, grit your teeth and listen again, but I bet you haven't heard it. This is a poem by Brian Doyle, and I thought of the entire library board when I read this. He says, "Once again this morning I was early to my town's library, and again there was a constellation of other bookies of all ages, little kids, the eagerest, pressing against the door. But this morning I noticed how many men were a bit worn at the edges. It's a capital mistake to make judgments by what people wear or carry, or how neat or how not so their hair is, or awry their spectacles or battered their footwear. What I felt was that what we all felt, somehow deeply, inarticulately, that the library was gentle and friendly and warm and peaceful and safe and attentive." This is Portland, but it could be here. "If you ask for help at the library, someone helps you." That's a huge and amazing sentence. I am not always a total idiot, and I can well imagine that library people spend thousands of hours contemplating their responsibility to their bruised neighbors and how the library is and isn't a shelter, and if the word public can be diced to mean some things and not some other things. I get that. We all get that. It's a question with no easy answers. But all I see this morning, as we gather by the library doors, are my neighbors. Some are sprawled in the grass. One guy is asleep, I think. Finally, the librarian unlocks the door, grinning, and the little kids pour in like a kindness of wild, headlong new sparrows. End of poem.
Thank you. Perfect. Well, thanks, everybody. And now we will move on to financials in our agenda. Everybody got their materials in front of them for checks and line items. And Sarah, I'll let you walk us through the highlights.
I will. Okay. So the first thing I could point out on your checks list is that underneath the payroll section, the first check that's there to Advantage companies is actually the latest payment to that company that digitizes our Waverly newspapers. So I believe we are completely digitized now through 1923. Is that correct? So from the very beginnings of the Waverly newspapers, and there were a couple different ones, starting in the 1850s, 1856, somewhere in there, up to 1923, where we have copyright permission, we are completely digitized. So that is one payment out of reserve. Much of that was paid for by memorial gifts. And Jillian probably can be more specific about this, but I know that we have a number of individuals to thank for those gifts, some of them even from out of state who have Bremer County roots, who have been sending checks and sending their appreciation for these resources online. The third one from the bottom is also part of the transfer that we're, so it's paid out of the library's reserve savings account. It was on the Visa. It is little backpacks that are part of those lit kits that have books on a certain topic and then maybe something related to that, like a puzzle or a game related to that. And those have been so popular that we've worn out the first set. And that's paid for through special projects through the foundation. So that's just a pass-through as well. There's one very expensive battery on here to More Medical. And that is for our AED device, which is in our lobby. It is what we would use if we were going to perform CPR on someone. Those batteries are supposed to be changed out every so many years, and Brad is the person who checks on those things, and this is the first time I think we've had to replace the battery. So that explains that cost. Does anyone have any other specific questions on checks? The total, go ahead.
I was just going to say it wasn't a large amount, but I saw some things related to the lights and kind of some noticing that maybe there was a concern that something was heating, and Elsa Miller.
Oh, yeah, and I can't remember. We did have a few checks on the system, and I can't remember what the outcome of that was, but when Brad was troubleshooting, we did call the electrician on a couple of occasions. We've been working on changing out the light bulbs in the center area of the library, and the city has a fund for energy efficiency that is paying for the vast majority of those light bulbs. We're changing them out so that it's an LED now, which doesn't require a ballast. And so we are saving money per light just in the replacement, and they're supposed to last a very long time. The situation we're in right now is that there aren't LEDs large enough to get the same wattage that we had before. But we're hoping that when we change out the bulbs in the center chandeliers, that it will increase the light in the center portion of the library because it's a little bit darker than it was before, noticeably darker. So we're still working on that. But I think ultimately it's a good change that we're making to LED, to some more energy efficiency there, and also motion sensors in certain sections of the library, like the children's area. If no activity has gone on there, the lights will go out, but as soon as you step into that area, they come back on. So I think that's been working really well, and we've added that now to the west area of the library, and I think that will also be implemented in the north part as well. So the total expenditures for the month were $60,746. We have 4 months left, March, April, May, and June, before the end of the fiscal year. If you look on the summary page of expenditures, I looked through this closely as far as how many pay periods we have left. I believe there are 9, because March is one of those odd months that has 3 pay periods. And I did the calculations, and we look like we're going to come out in good shape as far as the personnel budget. We have started to slow now on our materials expenditures in March. You'll see that we've already spent 83% of our materials budget, which is normal for this time of year. Now we'll slow down and kind of see what we've got left coming in, and then divvy up any remaining materials funds to be spent before the end of the fiscal year. As far as revenues, you also have a revenue sheet as part of your packet. The February revenues for fines and book charges were a little bit less than they normally are. So I'm not sure if we'll hit our target. We may still hit our target for fines and fees. For duplicating, we're at about halfway there right now. Unless that calculation, I better check that calculation. But we're expecting, higher duplicating months in March and April. So, what we budget to take in those two categories for revenue that goes directly to the city every year, what we budgeted was just over $17,000. So, and our second and final payment from the county is set to come in April. So.
Sarah, the open access from the state funding,
Yes.
I noticed that's in red.
I think
It's on the back in the green section.
yes. So on the
Back of the
spreadsheet that has all the line items and the total budget numbers at the bottom, on the back side of that in green, which is our library reserve savings account, I did mark that number in red because it's a more specific number. It's a change from what we budgeted. We always budget high in this area in case other gifts come in. And then when I get the final numbers from the state as far as what we will actually be receiving, then I kind of finalize it. And the check, we did receive our second check out of our Enrich Iowa money from the state. And it was, do you remember the exact number of that check, Denny? It was $3,400 or $3,500. Yeah. So the total amount that we received from the state is less this year than it has been. In recent years, it's been $11,000, maybe $12,000 for the year. That was a fund that did get cut again this year at the state level. So tomorrow is actually legislative day for the Iowa Library Association, and I know that will be something that will be brought up, is that direct state aid to libraries has been going down and down.
Yep. So we knew some of that was coming, but as you said, when you see the numbers and you recognize the impact, it's important that we all look for opportunities to advocate for the value that money helps with libraries. Very good. Other questions on the line items or the summaries of expenses or revenues? Hearing none, if there's entertain a motion to accept the financials.
I move we approve the financials for February per standing resolution. Or for March, I should say.
All right. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right. On to a featured topic, summer reading preview.
Did you want to go first since you need to leave?
Oh, yep.
Yeah, I don't mean to run out early, but I do have to get back to the library. So Stacy can do one of our DIY programs that we do each month. So I'm going to talk about the adult summer reading program. So this is my fourth summer helping with the adult summer reading program, and it's been very fun so far. So I'm glad to have the opportunity to do it again. This year for the reading portion, we're going to do a bingo square. We've done this in the past, and it's always been kind of a hit. We've done different kind of games. I know Eric mentioned the Monopoly board that we did. One year we did the periodic table of elements, and so we had different reading or watching or listening challenges for all the different elements. So we have a bingo square. So just again, kind of reiterating trying to get people outside of their normal comfort zones for reading. We have different formats on here. There's a graphic novel, so if someone's not read maybe a graphic novel before, this is a good place to try it. Or if they haven't done an audiobook, we have both CD books and then digital ones that you can download. We have a movie based on a book, a biography, autobiography, classic, award-winning. There's always a librarian's recommendation too, so that gives us a chance to kind of talk about our favorites, and whether that's a book or a movie or some other kind of material. So this will be, again, they pick them up at the information desk and they get to keep these. They'll get prizes if they complete just a single square. We want it to be, for people maybe that wouldn't read 5 different squares to complete, a bingo line, but even if they're just going to do one thing. So our prizes we have books. We always get donated materials from the community that we can give out. So we've got lots of fun stuff with the bingo squares. And then our programs that we're going to do, we have 6 that we're doing this year. The 4th of July falls on a Tuesday this year, and that's usually when we do our adult programs, so there will be 1 week where we don't have one for the adults. But the first one that we're going to do, we did last year, and it was really popular. It's the Coloring and Zentangle. So if you're not aware, haven't heard of Zentangle, it's where you have these little white kind of tiles that are a thick paper, like a cardstock, and you use fine-tipped black markers to kind of make different patterns on it. And then you can color that in, or you can leave it black and white. So last year we had someone from the community come in and kind of lead that, and then it was just sort of open for people to do on their own then. And so we kind of marketed it as an extension of our DIY programs, which we always have on the second Tuesday of the month from September through May. So we're starting it out for June, it being the second Tuesday of the month. It's when we're going to do the Zentangle and coloring. So that one I'm looking forward to. That was really fun last year. And then our next week, we're going to do trivia. And this is a program that we are starting to do on the 3rd Tuesday of every month. It's just an open trivia night for people to come in, either with a team or maybe by themselves, and just kind of test out their general knowledge. So we've had a lot of fun coming up with questions for those. So that'll be on June 20th. June 27th, we are having our adult Iron Chef competition. So we've done this in the past, and it's been really successful. This year's summer reading program is Build a Better World. So we're calling this our Build a Better BLT. So it won't just be sandwich related, but that one's always been really fun, especially for us judges who then get to try everything that people make. And then the following week, that's June 27th. So then the following week is July 4th, so the library will be closed. But then on July 11th, we're going to have a puzzle competition. And Sue will talk about with Emily's teens, they're also doing the same program. So we have, I think, 5, maybe 6 jigsaw puzzles that have like a bookstore theme, and so we're going to have people come in as teams and work on a puzzle or they're all working on the same puzzle, but in different groups. And so whichever group then completes the puzzle the most will be deemed the winners. So this is a new one for us. We haven't tried it before, but we think it's going to be a lot of fun. And then our last one on July 18th, we're going to have bingo. So we got last year a bingo wheel for one of the teen programs, so we're using that again. So should be a good time, I hope.
Good group of activities, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Excellent.
So
any questions? Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks. Shifting to kids, Sue?
Kids, yes. Again, the theme is Build a Better World. And with birth to age 2, we're going to do also the bingo, where there are things like, read a book, sing a song, go for a walk. It's not just reading, but it's sharing time with your children. And then age 3 through 4th grade, we have a reading log, and we no longer count the number of books they read. We encourage them to read 30 minutes. And there's 3 levels of 30 minutes. I think it's 7, so it's like a week. and each time you get your level completed, you get a prize. And again, like you mentioned earlier, or no, Bethany did, the grand prize is a bicycle. And the bikes are provided by the Nancy Greenlee Memorial. Our programs, we always kick it off with a garden walk, and we take a book and laminate the pages and put them on a post and then have them through our garden, which is just beautiful. And this year, it's the 50th anniversary of the book Brown Bear, What Do You See? And so we're going to do that book. Then I'm just going to go through first the Monday evening programs. Those are family programs. We'll have the Blue Dorn Science Imaginarium here. They always do a very good program. We're going to have Big Equipment Bash. So we're going to ask like the implements and maybe the fire department and the ambulance to come, and then the kids can walk through them with their, with parents. And also on July 3rd, we decided not to have a program since the next day is the 4th of July. Then we've been collecting boxes in the basement, and we're going to have a program called Not a Box. There's a children's book called Not a Box, and it's about using your imagination, and the box can be, a building or a vehicle, and so families and the children can make things with the boxes that evening. And then, back by popular demand, the last one is a squirt gun fight. We always get the snow cone machine from Miller's, and they love that night of bringing their squirt blasters and having fun in the garden. Our Wednesday programs are, again, family programs. They're in the afternoon. Our first one will have Blank Park Zoo. And they always bring animals, and it brings a big crowd. We'll have Absolute Science the next time. This is educational and really exciting different science experiments. Then this next one's a hoot. It's the Rope Warrior. He's the lean, mean jumping machine from America's Got Talent.
Oh, wow.
Oh, boy. And he does all kinds of jumping rope tricks. It's pretty cool. And then, this person has a Waverly roots, Dean Franzen, the Dean of Juggling. Mm-hmm. And finally, we'll have a magic show. And other programs, we always have preschool story time. We always have toddler time. Oh, and one of my favorites is we have Read and Feed. And that's on Thursdays. Bring a sack lunch. We go out into the garden, and we first lunch together, and then I do a story time program. Something new this year is Full Steam Ahead. And STEAM is an acronym for science, technology, engineering, art, and math. And that will be right after the Read and Feed program. And the themes are engineering, body science, exploring our senses, weather science, and fun with color. Our assistant librarian, Chris Fagry, is heading up that program, and it sounds like it's going to be outstanding. And for the second year in the row, we're going to have a 4th through 6th grade lunch book club. We've already selected the title. It's Flying Lessons and Other Stories. And this is when I need to say that our 4th through 6th grade book clubs are sponsored by the Lions Club. That's one of their initiatives is literacy and children. And so we had a book club this spring that was very successful. And the nice thing is the Lions Club gives us the money so each student can have a book, and they can write notes in it, and they can keep it. And so we'll have that this summer. There are still some programs we haven't finished planning. You mentioned Dan Wardell. We did get the email from Dan Wardell that he's not coming this summer, so we're disappointed in that. He's got some new ventures, and so he has less time, and so he's going to fewer libraries this summer. He did say he would be going to libraries during the school year, so not to lose hope, maybe he will come during the school year sometime. Now, I have a lot of excellent, like the Rope Warrior, educators and entertainers, and it wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for the Friends of the Library. And so I want to put a plug in right now for the Friends of the Library. They not only support the summer program with the prizes and the programming, it's also because of the Friends that Waverly Shell Rock K through 4th grades can get on a bus and come to the library. And I think shared resources is so important, and this is one of the ways that we can do that. So when you're thinking of who you would like to donate to, think of the Friends of the Library, because the money goes to literacy and to help improve our programming at the library. So,
Thank you so much.
oh, and I'm not done. I was going to tell you a little bit about Emily's. Emily is vacationing with her family, so she couldn't be here tonight, but she's got what sounds like some really awesome programs, and some of them I just have to tell you what the title is because I have no idea what it is. But one of the things they're going to do is practice a flash mob, and they're hoping.
What age group does this cover? I'm sorry. What age group?
Teens.
Teens, we started a little early. We anyone who has been in 5th grade and above. So the flash mob is they're hoping to perform at one of the Thursday night concerts. So I thought that was sounds like a lot of fun. And then and some of these I have no idea what it is. Silent Library.
I can tell you about that one.
Okay.
This one's really funny. It was a show, I think it was on MTV, where a group of contestants are given a task to do, and they're in a library, and they have to perform it and try and not laugh at all or keep it completely quiet. So they're just silly little things that they either have to do, like some sort of like charades kinds of things or whatever, and then try and stay quiet. So that's the Silent Library. So the Tab group has been watching clips on YouTube of the show and have been coming up with ideas for what can be used.
Okay, so don't go. Stay there. And the next one is Model UN.
That one I don't know as much about, but the United Nations, they're going to do a Model UN.
Okay, and then you had mentioned the puzzle competition, and then short film challenge.
Yeah, they're going to be filming just short films throughout the library and then editing them, I think, and showing them.
Then those are Tuesdays at 11, and then on Wednesdays after the library closes, that's when they have other programming. And the first one's pizza and painting, kind of like how you can go to places and paint and have wine. Well, we won't have wine. We'll have pizzas and painting. And then team building challenges. That's probably all those.
That's
boxes.
at the boxes again, yeah.
Oh no, there's box wars then. So I don't know what laser tag. We have that every year, and the Friends help support that. And that one we get huge crowds. And then Survivor, probably like the
television show.
Survivor. And then finally karaoke and lip sync. Ooh. That'd be fun. So Emily has a lot of fun things, and the teens really enjoy it.
Excellent. Thank you. Any other questions for them?
Just excuse me, I just want to thank Sue for clarifying that the squirt blasters are used outside and not inside the library. I was trying to imagine how that works.
I think it'd be a lot more fun inside. There was something that you mentioned kind of early on about a move on the goals as opposed from number of books read to minutes read. And there's probably a pretty well thought out rationale for that. I'd be interested in knowing what that was.
Well, to be honest, we kind of had a problem with little young ones signing up and then a couple hours later going, I read all my books. So this way, each night for 7 days, they have to read 30 minutes. And so, a little more accountability, I guess, is why we do it.
Build some more of the habit.
Yes.
It kind of works toward that leveling the playing field for readers at different levels as well.
That too, and
your
that's
30 minutes is as valuable as my 30 minutes, even though I'm a slower reader.
Yeah, and that's always been important to me too, because that's why we have the summer reading, because we want those who struggle to find success.
It also helps with the format, too. I mean, if you read 30 minutes of a graphic novel, you're getting a lot of different things as well as just the text that you're reading. And so to say you've read a graphic novel for 30 minutes isn't any less beneficial than reading a fiction novel or nonfiction. Or if you're listening to a book for 30 minutes, you can say that,
and
too.
it also eliminates the problem of how many pages does the book have to be? Can it be an easy reader? Can it be this? Can it be this? It just makes it a lot easier. 30 minutes.
Sustained reading is something that is very necessary to achieve at whatever level you're at. The ability to sit and focus and read for 30 minutes is big.
Great skill.
I'll mention, too, that last summer, I know the library got a lot of good mention for providing some reading things at that summer lunch program that was held at Southeast School. That was neat.
Good. Any other comments or questions? Thanks so much for sharing what's coming, and I encourage everyone to participate. Then on to our second feature, our digitized Waverly Historic Collection.
Yes, so that's me again, so I'm not going to try and monopolize everything, but I'm very excited to share the newspapers with you. Sarah talked a little bit about it. So what we've done now is we've digitized our earliest papers date back to 1856, and now we have that through, it's actually 1924 that we have that have been scanned from our microfilm and uploaded onto our website. So I'm going to pull it up here. If you're on the library's website, which is waverlya.com/public-library, and this is the homepage here, if you go to the tab that says resources and you click on that, this first paragraph here says, click on online resources to access the library's research databases, stop by the information desk for personal assistance, and then it can kind of continues. The second paragraph here says click to access our digitized newspaper collection. So I'm going to bring it up here. So this is done through a company called Advantage Preservation. That was that line item in the financials that Sarah was talking about. So on the left-hand side, it shows you, let's hope that it works. Okay, here we go. So these are all the titles that we have. So there's the Bremer County Independent. There's this Fair Expositor. The Independent Republican, which is no longer a newspaper that's being published, the Waverly Democrat, the Waverly Phoenix, which is the German language paper, the Waverly Republican, that's the one, I'm sorry, that's no longer being published. And then there's a couple other just small ones. And then you can see below that there's the browse by year. So our earliest ones are 1856. If you click on more, you can see it goes all the way up here down through 1924. So in addition to, because we already have all of these newspapers on microfilm, And then that would mean a patron would need to come into the library and load the microfilm onto the machine that we have, manually scroll through the reels to find what they're looking for. And if they don't know the specific date that they're searching, it can be a little bit cumbersome and take a really long time to do your research. So with this now we have the option for keyword searchability. So you can search either by a keyword. So if we do, we'll search public library and see what turns up. And so you can see there are 1,200 results then that come up. And then it highlights all of the instances of where it's saying public library. So you can click on the first article, and it brings up the page. And maybe. This was working earlier at the library, of course, but.
I should mention, too, while we're waiting for that, that before we had this keyword searching ability online, the staff would continually add to a manual index, and that was the best that we could do. But obviously, there are lots more search terms that can be used this way. We would only catch the prominent names or the prominent events that way. Now, last year we had our internet service was down when we tried this. This year the website is having, the Advantage website is moving slowly.
Yeah. It's an absolute given that if it's something, it's going to have a technical issue.
I'll try a different one then.
Looks like it might be the Advantage site is having a connection issue.
Well, and I was going
for
to try a
one,
different
am-
browser. What's that?
I, for one, am willing to take your word for it, but it's a really,
Well, I
really
had
cool
some
service.
great searches to demonstrate too. So
I can go on to some reports while.
Go ahead and do that while you're playing around.
You can do that.
See if the connection comes back up.
Okay. So March, I'm trying to remember the date. 6th was the public hearing. That would have been a Monday. Was the public hearing on the budget, and the library's budget request, of course, was part of that. And from the budget that we submitted, that was approved by this board and was submitted to the city and went before the council, there were no changes made to the library's budget. And there is an approved budget now that went on to be certified by the state. So the proposed budget for 2017-18 is $918,507. And altogether, over this year, that was a 1.5% increase. And that's exactly how we submitted it. So I would call that a successful budgeting process for us. As far as the county, we just got word from Bremer County that as a library association, the Bremer County Library Association, we had requested what ended up being a 5.75% increase, which was an average of all the 7 libraries in the county, plus $5,000 for a computer education, internet education program for the public. And this year, the county, after a few years of a flat budget for the association, we were able to secure a 3% increase for BCLA, plus the $5,000 for the technology classes, which is wonderful. The way that will work is that $5,000 will be put into the Bremer County Library Association account, and as an association, we'll hire a part-time teacher who will travel around to each of the 7 libraries, and together as a group of librarians, we'll choose which classes will be where. But our library should be able to offer a couple of classes then this year through that program. So very excited about that. I think that turned out well. So that's the budget reports for 17-18.
Excellent. Thank you so much, and to all of the board here who helped throughout that process of the budget cycle. Would you like us to switch back or continue looking at our reports?
Well, I had one page that came up. I think it might be also an issue of the web browser. Usually when I use this website, I use Google Chrome, or on the public computers, we use Firefox. I don't see that they have another browser than Internet Explorer that's on this computer, but I did have.
There we go.
Yeah, so there's at least, I can get one page to come up. So, but you can see kind of then what you can view. You can view the newspapers in their entirety. If we did do a search, and this was one of the pages that came up as a result, it would highlight where on the paper those keywords were so that you can zoom right into that. Then there are tools that you can use where you can kind of snip out that little article and download it. You can save it to a flash drive or send it maybe as an attachment. You can print it then too. So
Can you scroll down on this page just to show?
I think the key here is that a chicken thief gets
It
2
is.
years.
That's the highlight. That's the highlight right
Our
there.
eyes all went right to that.
Yeah, that's
People
right.
didn't look kindly upon chicken thieves.
Yes, I see.
So, and for me personally, the reason I really like having this resource, or one of the reasons, there are many, you can see in these newspapers how small the print is, and they don't typically in these older papers have sections like we do now. So we've got a specific section that will talk about local happenings, a section for obituaries, those kinds of things. So if you're searching for instance for an obituary, which is a lot of the genealogical assistance that we do, it can be really hard on the microfilm to find that because you're literally going through each column and each bit of the newspaper. So having the keyword and the name search capability has really helped us be able to provide better assistance for family research and for genealogy. So, yeah.
I should mention that I just got an email from a patron from out of town who I had evidently helped answer a question in 2009 with our microfilmed newspaper. She even had included the email exchange that we had back in 2009, and she was thanking me for this resource being up on the web now because she was able to answer a couple of questions that we hadn't been able to find back then. We'd answered part of her questions, but so that was really fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this, like Sarah mentioned, then is available just through our website. So you don't have to come into the library like you would with the microfilm. You have to physically be inside the library to do it. So you can use this anywhere with a web connection and hopefully a browser that's not Internet Explorer. So.
And this plus or minus I see at the bottom of the page, is that to make the page larger or smaller, or am I
Yes.
misreading? Okay.
Yep. And then to the right, then where it's saying 1 of 8, there were 8 pages in this particular issue. So you could scroll through to the page 2 and then 3.
So we're on 1924 or something now?
Yes. So with copyright law, public domain goes through 1923. It might now be 1924. Or the Advantage Preservation, the company that did the digitizing for us, this last batch they did through 1924. So the next step to go beyond 1924 is either to get copyright permission from the publisher of the newspaper, or if there's not been any copyright notice printed in the paper, then we're able to digitize those newspapers because technically the copyright is no longer there for that. So we have a couple different things to explore. This has just been so recently done that we haven't gone forward from this yet.
Is that highly likely that we'll be able to get the 1950s copy of the Waverly paper?
I think so. I hope so. I think especially now that we have this to show as the end result to the people who are the publishers, then they can see that this is for research and this is for, educational purposes. It's not like we're going to digitize last week's issue and then have it available on the web. So,
is there a predictable downside for the paper not to release these kinds of documents to the public in this format?
I can't think of any. There's no longer, as far as I know, any financial or monetary benefit for them to not have it. No one's going to buy an issue. There's no paper copies. So, and we already have the resource, like we said, on microfilm in the library. So we could go back, if it's something from an article in 1950, we could go back to that microfilm reel and find it. But this is just nicer.
This is a much improved tool, isn't it?
Much improved, yes.
So we hope that we can continue the digitization process.
Fabulous. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
For giving us a little tour. Yeah. Now I want to read about the unique costumes that we're seeing at the firemen's dance too.
Oh yeah. I love reading the happenings too. So and so went and visited so and so, or this person came to call, and so it's.
Mrs. Jones served tea to 24.
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
Right.
So.
Any other comments or questions?
Fantastic stuff.
Yeah.
Great.
And you can always come and see me at the desk too and ask for help if you don't know where to get started or if you are running into issues with it. So.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Switching back to the rest of our reports then. Foundation annual meeting, and we were just trading some messages too, scheduling wise. I think we're going to need to look at a revision to that date with my unfortunate schedule.
It's not going to happen next Tuesday?
Not going to happen next Tuesday. So we'll need to touch base with Mark and other folks. We've been talking a little bit about the 31st, and we can talk afterwards about whether
That is a Friday,
Friday, yes.
as far as I know.
And for everyone else, again, the Waverly Public Library Foundation serves the mission of the library and takes as another opportunity to generously donate to the library funds that can then be used for the good of these kinds of things going forward for the mission of the library. And just as others were talking about the opportunities to give to the Friends, the Waverly Public Library Foundation is another place where estate gifts or other kinds of gifts are certainly a conduit to doing good things with the library. And our annual meeting is coming up, so we'll have a final date set for that after we connect with the rest of the foundation board. So, we're getting ready to talk our tips for getting to the library. Diana, any comments on special project deadline?
Nope. It says Tuesday, March 15th. It probably Wednesday, March 15th.
Oh, did I get that day wrong? Whatever day the
Tomorrow.
15th is. 15th. Okay.
Yeah. And we always are interested in special projects from the community as well as library staff. Anyone who has any ideas, certainly get a form and write it out and let us know what you think would.
And those forms are available on the website, I believe, as well, under the Library Foundation section. So I've got a map up, should be on your screen in front of you. And I don't have, first I have to say that this Bremer Avenue reconstruction project, which is set to begin this next construction season and last at least two construction seasons, that's a project. It is a project of the Iowa DOT. And so here at the city, we don't have specifics on that project yet. I think there are some meetings coming up very shortly that may give us some more specifics on dates. What we do believe from the last conversations is that the section of Bremer Avenue that is in front of the library, and that section will be in the first, it will happen this next construction season, that will be repaired. So if that lands during our summer reading program or any other time, we just want folks to be aware that we're still going to be open, but you'll just have to get to us from another direction. And so I just put the map up here to show you briefly the other ways. So the library is in pink here, and so this is north. You can see the W over here I put in orange. Just north of us, you can see Southeast School there.
That would be West Cedar.
Oh, what am I thinking? I'm losing my mind. Did I say I've been working there for 20 years now? Yes, that's West Cedar.
All right.
I must have had Southeast School on my mind from the little free library that we've got going up there. So it's
due to recent flooding, we've had to move Southeast School. It's now by the library.
I heard that. So 15th Street is the street that goes past the library. You can either wind around back from the W, or 3rd Avenue, which comes right off Old 218. You can take that direction too. But either way, you'll just have to go past West Cedar Elementary to get to us. So that's all.
Don't go past Southeast.
No,
Really take
don't go over to Southeast.
You'll run into the green bridge that you can't drive
You
across.
can't get across either.
Well, Sarah, at our last board meeting, we talked a little bit about the library parking lot project, and I think I saw it correctly in the city minutes that funds have been set aside for that. And the question that we at least raised initially last time, while we're doing that parking lot and the construction outside, is it the best of ideas to do those simultaneously, or the worst of times to do it? I don't know if you or your staff or Mike Cherry has had any further thoughts about that.
I did speak to Mike about it, and he told me that they'll be having the, meetings coming up, during the bid process, and that I can select blackout dates if I'd like to. So what I sent to him so far is to say, during our summer reading program this summer, we'd like to black out everything between June 1st up through about, I can't remember the exact date I gave him, July 19th or 20th, whatever the last day of our summer reading program events are, so that if they wanted to work on it after that point, I didn't want to rule out that they might do it, say, at the end of this next construction season, because otherwise, budget-wise, it's in the 17-18 budget, so technically it should be finished up by June 30th of 2018, and depending on how a spring is, so that's what I've blacked out at this time is.
During the summer reading program is when you want to have full access to the library.
Yes.
Okay.
And
are there times of the construction season which you traditionally see less traffic, and that would be maybe a more logical time to make it not as convenient to get to the library?
We used to think that August was a lower traffic month, and it might be slightly, but I don't know if it's big enough to say that's. I don't think there is a good time, honestly. We know that with the traffic that we have during summer reading program, it would really just be a nightmare. But I think we're kind of. We know that since it fits into the city's capital projects budget in 17-18, aside from that 6 weeks, we'll just let it happen when it happens. And in conjunction with our parking lot, this parking lot here at City Hall is also going to be done at the same time. So they may have some flexibility to start one project.
Sarah, what's your understanding? It's funny that I would ask this, but are you or is the city responsible for signage to help people find their way around? Do you know?
For the parking lot project? Or
Well,
for-
to get to the library when Bremer is closed. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I don't know yet if the DOT has any plans, if they do anything like that. It may just fall back on the library. There was one year where we did pay a few $100s to rent a sign for a couple of weeks, an electronic sign that we got power to and put it out in the front area there to say, that we were, that was when we were closed for the carpet project. Yeah. So.
And I wonder if it would make any sense to get together with the preschool, with the daycare center, and with Methodist Church, and maybe the senior housing back there, and said all of us will be experiencing some difficulties. And maybe there's some common signage that we could all get into collaboratively.
That's
rather
true.
than each of those sites, those heavily used sites.
Yeah.
That will all need signage at about the same time.
Yeah.
Can do something together that might be more effective than just each
Yeah.
entity kind of doing their own little.
That is a very good idea. I'll make those contacts and see if they've made any plans and see what we can do to collaborate.
And this will be my last one, I really promise.
No, that's all right.
And I'm thinking about about when the library's parking lot is torn up. I wonder if it's too early to approach the Methodist Church, and just wondering if they would be open to receiving some more traffic through through their parking lot, knowing that there will be days when it will be completely off limits.
Yes.
And I'm just wondering if kind of maybe an early conversation at this point might we'll say pave the way for something else.
At least we're not
No pun
open
intended.
on Sundays in the summer.
Right.
So
Right.
Yeah, we don't have Sunday hours in the summer, so that could work out really well. But that had crossed my mind that would be a possibility, but I'll pursue that conversation.
Good
So.
connection if we're talking to them about signage as well. Excellent. Any other comments on the construction or any other reports?
Oh, I did have one other quick report. The dates that I will be gone in the next couple of weeks, just so everyone's aware, are the 22nd, 23rd, which would be Wednesday and Thursday of next week, and then the following week, the 27th and 28th, the Monday, Tuesday. That's the plan, so.
Very good. All right. Anything else?
Sounds like a great summer program.
It absolutely does.
And will there be little slips of paper that will kind of have each one of these things listed out?
Yes.
I know our grandkids will want to pick those up when they go.
Yes, I forgot to mention that the flyers that have all these dates solidified and events I think those will be printed within the next month for sure, and then they actually go out to the schools and are distributed that way. They'll be available on the webpage. They'll be at the library for people to pick up too. So, yep.
Well, I guess in closing, thanks again to everybody on the board and staff for your support, everybody in the community for your support. The library is your resource, and exciting to hear of these programs and all the resources that the library has available. So everybody take advantage. With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right. All in favor, aye. Aye. All right. Thanks again. Everybody stay warm these next couple of days.